So David Moyes has basically confirmed what we've known now for a long, long time. I'll be honest. I'm sure most fans are like me. I've kind of been in denial a little bit about it. Been in sort of a bit of hope that the situation with Rice would be that he maybe he'd change his mind, or the club would be able to sway him to stay a bit longer. All these kind of things. But I think the comments from David Moyes. Now, for people that haven't seen it, David Moyes has spoken to the press prior to the Brentford game this Sunday. He was asked about Declan Rice and his future and all this, because it's coming up to the summer now. It's widely expected that this summer Declan is going to leave the club. And this is the first time David Moyes has ever said this, ever. And he's completely changed his stance now, in basically saying there's a good chance Rice is not going to be here. But let's be honest, that is him basically admitting he is going. There's no way. I don't see it going any other way now, which is... It's the worst kept secret in football, isn't it? We know that this has been a situation. Rice has been offered numerous contracts by West Ham. He simply doesn't want to sign them. I know it's painful. It is painful, but I do understand Declan's position a little bit. I do. At the end of the day, he wants success. And when we're talking success, he's not just talking about doing okay in the league and maybe challenging, try and get a top 6 spot. He means he wants to go and win the Premier League. He wants to go and win the Champions League. West Ham just can't offer him that. No matter how much money we throw at him, that's what he's more interested in. He wants a career where he can look back and say, I was one of the best in the world. I think, and can you begrudge him that? I don't think we can, as painful as it is. Look, I'm going to be honest. The more I've thought about this, and since the Moyes comments, which is obviously a little bit of a dagger in the heart, because you think, it's basically he's confirmed it. I've been thinking about it more. And I'm actually starting to believe this might not be as bad as we're sort of on the surface it may seem. And the reason I say that is, now I appreciate there'll be some fans here that won't remember this, so that's why I'm going to talk about it in a bit more detail. And there'll be some that do remember this, and hopefully that'll actually, you remind yourself and think, yeah, he's right. And I'm confident in what I'm saying here, is that back in 1995, I think it was 94, 95. Now, this is when I was at 9, 10 years old. So I was, at that age where I was just really falling in love with the game, and really, I had a season ticket, all this kind of stuff. And we were in a relegation battle under Harry Redknapp at the time. Really tough time at the club. But we had a very similar situation to Rice. He's very close to it. We had one player, Julian Dix, who was our best player by a long, long way. He was defender, left back, of course. But he was not only was he a wonderfully gifted left back and a great footballer, but he was like Rice. He was the driving force of the team. He used to lift the crowd. He was the talisman. He was the main man. He was one of the best defenders in the country. No two ways about it. He was too good for West Ham. Again, like we talk about Rice, maybe horrible to admit that, but really he's levels above slightly, and you have to sort of see that for what it is. So very similar. Now, we sold Julian to Liverpool, much like the Rice. They were a much bigger club. They were doing, they wanted him. The big clubs all wanted Julian Dix. He was that good, and Liverpool took him from us. And it was absolute agony. Much like this will be with Rice, we don't want to see him leave. It's going to be painful. Nevertheless, even for me, still after doing this video, I'm not looking forward to it at all. But that move was a really good move. It turned out to be for West Ham. We were a better team for it. Because what we did was, I can't remember the exact deal. I don't know whether money was involved, but I know that we got, as part of the agreement with the Dix sale, was that we got David Burrows as the left back replacement for Julian, and we also got a midfielder in Mike Marsh. Now, those two players made us a better team because David Burrows was a decent left back. All right, he wasn't Dix's level. Dix was Dix is one of the best, probably the best left back in the country at the time, up there with maybe Stuart Pearce possibly ahead of him, but he was right up there. And we got a good midfielder in Mike Marsh, and we were a stronger team, and we avoided relegation. And that's how I was starting to feel about this Rice situation. Because, right, let's just put this out there, right? Let's just say, I don't know the ins and outs of this. I'm just going to start throwing some sort of numbers. I'm sort of picking them out of my head, okay? Let's just say that West Ham have got an £80 million budget for this summer. Let's just say we've got £80 million in our pocket. We've budgeted for that. That's what we're going to go and spend on players. If West Ham now go and sell Declan Rice for £100 million, and let's hope, I'm just going to split out, let's say the club go, yeah, that's going straight back into the player funds. we're going to invest in that. West Ham suddenly have got an additional £100 million to spend. What's to say? Now, this is what I would do. This is what I would do as a West Ham. This is how I'd operate. I would go, okay, right, we need a Rice replacement now. So, look, you're not going to be able to replace Declan Rice. You're not going to be able to say, oh, let's go and get a player as good as Declan Rice. That isn't going to happen. But what you can do is get a very good midfielder in to partner Lucas Paqueta. You could say, right, we need someone that's good. We might have Inflin Downs, by the way, but let's just say we're going to replace Rice. You could go and get us, let's say, go and spend £50 million on a very, very good midfielder. I don't know exactly who we're talking about at the moment, but there are options out there. You've got Onana. If Everton get relegated, we could get another very good midfielder in Onana. Come and partner, who knows? We could go and buy Ivan Toney. West Ham, someone like that, of that calibre. We could go then to Brentford and say, right, we want to get Ivan Toney. What do you want? And we could get, spend 80 million on him, and suddenly we've got an England striker. Then suddenly you look at West Ham and you think, this isn't a bad deal, We've lost Rice, it's painful, yeah, wherever he's gone, good luck to him. We look better. We've got a stronger team out of this. We're not going to suddenly collapse because we lose Declan Rice. We've been in these positions before. We've had these situations quite a few times as West Ham fans. I mean, obviously we had the relegation back in 2001. Well, I remember when we lost Joe Cole, we lost Glenn Johnson. It was agony losing these players. Okay, that was relegation, so it was a little bit different. But we came back, obviously, in the end, a couple of years later, and we were strong for it. But what I'm saying is, we've been in these positions before, and we've come away from it okay. We lost Dimitri Payet only, what, was that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, what it was now? Is that around there, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah, maybe a bit longer now. 7 years. And again, that was agony. Our best player, let's be honest, Payet was probably in the top 3 players in the league. And we lost him. He wanted to leave. And we remember thinking, oh, my God, the world's going to end. You know what I mean? How are we going to cope? And we coped. We can deal with it. Losing Declan Rice is always going to be painful. And it's going to hurt more because of who he is. He plays for England. He represents West Ham. And he's come through our academy. So it's very painful. But there is a positive light to this. There is a silver lining. West Ham can actually use this to our advantage. We can go out now. We've got a lot more money. We've got more power. If West Ham win the Europa Conference League, and let's be honest, Declan will be absolutely desperate to leave here on a high and leave here lifting our first trophy in 43 years. What a way to sign off. We could have European football again. We could go to the likes of, as I said, Ivan Toney and say, you can come play the Europa League next season, and we'll make you one of our highest paid players, and you'll be our main striker. You might think, these things can happen. I mean, obviously, the risk, the worrying aspect slightly is, will West Ham get it right? You only have to look back at Tottenham Hotspur. They did something very similar with Gareth Bale, who was their best player. Real Madrid came in for him. I can't remember the fee. I think it was 80 million, at the time. We're talking quite a while ago now, 10, maybe 15, whatever it was, years ago now, 10 years ago. Yeah, whatever it was. And they blew that money, really. They went out and spent it on players from all over the world and picked out all these players, and it just didn't work. I can't remember. I think maybe one was okay in the end, but I think out of 6 or 7 players they bought. So it's not to say it's a guarantee. That's the risky bit. If you're going to spend the Declan Rice money to make West Ham a stronger team, then you've got to make sure your recruitment's spot on. And let's be honest, there are some question marks over our recruitment. I mean, you've got to look at Scamacca. We're going to talk about that in another video. I mean, we're just, we'll talk about Rob Newman and things. That'll be coming up soon. But that's the issue. That is the issue for me. That's the only part that slightly gives me a little bit of concern. However, as I say, let's just say we get it right. Let's just say West Ham go out and buy a very good midfielder to replace Rice. As I've said, he's not going to be as good as Rice, but no one is. No, Rice is pretty much one of the best midfielders in the world. You're not going to suddenly just be able to go, yeah, we're going to get another one. But if we get our recruitment right, we can get a very, very good midfielder in. As I've said, go and get a very, very good striker in. And then, by the way, this is on top. And then you've still got that 80 million, as I was saying earlier, to then go out and say, and let's go and buy a new right back. Let's go and buy, let's invest, let's all a nice, whatever. Go and strengthen. Let's go and buy a top goalkeeper. This is all I'm saying is, this doesn't have to be doom and gloom. This doesn't have to be the end of the world. You don't have to look at it like that. This could actually be a very, very good thing for West Ham in the long run. We might look at this next season and go, do you know what? We're a better team. We look so much stronger. We've got more depth. We've got quality all over now. It's going to be painful. It is going to be very, very painful. What I would say is, though, I've just looking at my notes here, what I wanted to mention is, if West Ham sell Rice, which is, as I've said, it looks like that is very much the case. What I think West Ham really need to do is not only do they need to invest in a replacement for Declan, I'd actually use it as an opportunity to freshen up the whole midfield. I'd probably look at replacing Souček as well. As much as he's been okay recently, I think that would give West Ham a nice opportunity to freshen up that midfield. Of course, have Paqueta as one of the main players in that. Of course, I wouldn't want to replace him. He's been excellent of late. Like, we're starting to see what a wonderful player we've got on our hands here. But that's what I would be doing. Look, that's all I want to say. I'm trying to sugarcoat something, but I'm actually being honest here. It's not like I'm just saying it for the sake of just to make you feel better or make myself feel better. This is realistic. West Ham can actually use this Rice situation to our advantage. It doesn't have to be that bad. So do think of that. So when you are feeling a bit frustrated, it's going to be painful. Losing Declan Rice is going to be very, very painful for West Ham fans. It's going to be very tough for us to take. He's our main player, our pride and joy. But the reality is he's likely to go now. So let's just think of it in that sense. Start to think of it in a way that you go, do you know what? This actually might not be so bad for West Ham. This actually could be a good thing for us. That's what I want to say. So yeah, we're going to be doing some other videos later today, actually. In fact, I'll just go from that quickly now. So we've got the Brentford preview is going to be up tonight. And we're also going to be talking about Rob Newman's future as well as coming up. And also, and we're going to talk about the Europa Conference League. So yeah, do stay tuned. But yeah, so painful losing Declan Rice. But I actually do think this is going to be, in the long run, a good thing for the club.